Tag TV brings you daily news bulletin from India. Breaking news and views from India.
Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Wednesday, the 27th of March. India tests anti-satellite weapon. Prime Minister hails India's arrival as space power. Activists announce protest against Kohala project in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. And Afghan politicians criticize Pakistani Prime Minister's interim setup statement. And now for all the details, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in an address to the nation that India tested an anti-satellite weapon on Wednesday and shot down one of its live satellite in space. The Prime Minister called it a historic feat and said that India had registered its name as a space power.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India had shot down one of its own satellites in space on Wednesday with an anti-satellite or ASAT missile, hailing the test as a major breakthrough in its space program. The Prime Minister made the announcement in a television address to the nation and said India has become the fourth country to have used such an anti-satellite weapon. He said this will give a new strength to the nation from a development and security point of view.
भारत ने एक अभूतपूर्व सिद्धि हासिल की है। भारत ने आज अपना नाम अंतरिक्ष महाशक्ति स्पेस पावर के रूप में दर्ज करा दिया है।
The anti-satellite weapon allows for attacks on enemy satellites, blinding them or disrupting communications, as well as providing a technology base for intercepting ballistic missiles. India has had a space program for years, making Earth-imaging satellites and launch capabilities as a cheaper alternative to Western programs. It successfully sent a low-cost probe to Mars in 2014 and plans its first manned space mission by 2022.
In news from Pakistan, a court in Pakistan on Tuesday ordered the government to take custody of two Hindu girls hailing from Sindh province who were allegedly kidnapped and forced to convert to Islam. Human rights activists accuse several young girls from minority communities have been abducted and forcibly converted to Islam in Pakistan in the past few years.
The Islamabad High Court ordered the Pakistani government to take custody of two Hindu sisters on Tuesday who were allegedly kidnapped and forced to convert to Islam. According to police, the teenagers left their home in mostly Muslim Sindh province on March 20th to be married in Punjab province, where the law does not bar marriages of those younger than 18, unlike Sindh. Police has detained 10 people in the case over their marriages and registered a formal case of kidnapping after complaints from their parents. The court has set a deadline of next Tuesday for the submission of a report into an inquiry ordered by Prime Minister Imran Khan.
तो अल्टीमेट उनके लिए शादी ही थी और जब वो खानपुर में उन्होंने वकला से मशवरा किया तो उन्होंने यही उनको बताया कि दो ही ऑप्शन है, या आप जेल चले जाएं, दारुल अमान में सारी उम्र गुजारें, या आप शादी कर लें.
The incident prompted a rare public intervention from Pakistan's neighbor, India, when India's Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj said on Twitter that she had asked Indian ambassador in Pakistan for a report on news of it. Human rights activists accuse that several young Hindu and Christian girls have been abducted, forcibly converted to Islam, and married to Muslim men in Pakistan in the past few years.
Moving on, political activists have announced the launch of a string of protests in the coming months in Pakistan-administered Kashmir against the proposed Kohala Dam project. They highlighted that Pakistan has been recklessly exploiting natural resources in the illegally occupied region by building the so-called developmental projects.
Political activists in Pakistan-administered Kashmir recently held a press conference in Muzaffarabad city to announce the launch of a string of protests in coming months, staking public claim on their natural resources, which Pakistan has been exploiting for the past 70 years. Residents in Muzaffarabad city are already reeling from the adverse effects of diversion of Neelam River, but with newly proposed Kohala project, which will see diversion of Jhelum River through a similar tunnel system, has compounded their worries.
कोहाला डैम जो है जिसको फिर जो सूरत-ए-हाल हम तक पहुंच रही है उसमें यह है कि उसको भी कन्वर्ट किया जाएगा और उस पर काम करने की तरफ बढ़ा जा रहा है। तो आपने देखा होगा पिछले अरसे में यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट समेत तमाम लोगों का ये डिमांड थी कि दरियाओं को कुदरती बहाव के साथ चलने दिया जाए, उनको कन्वर्ट ना किया जाए, उनकी डाइवर्शन काबिल कबूल नहीं है। और वो जो डाइवर्शन हुई है बिलखुसूस नीलम की डाइवर्शन के बाद आपने देखा होगा कि मुजफ्फराबाद की ज़िंदगी किस तरह से गुजर रही है।
The Neelam Jhelum project has posed a serious environmental threat, and a massive water crisis has built up of late, which has made life miserable in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. It is ironic that the hub of hydropower generation, Pakistan-administered Kashmir itself continues to suffer long and persistent power outages.
And in news from Afghanistan, Afghan politicians and some government officials on Tuesday reacted strongly to Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan's interim set-up statement and said it is clearly an interference in Afghanistan's internal affairs. Khan's remarks came a month after Afghan president had said that such plans are outlined outside the country.
Heads of mainstream Afghan political parties and some high-ranking government officials took to social media on Tuesday to dismiss the controversial remarks by Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan, who proposed an interim setup in Afghanistan. Khan had said that the Afghan government creates an obstruction on the way of peace talks with the Taliban and that an interim setup can be a possible solution in the ongoing peace process, media reports said. Former Afghan President Hamid Karzai, while rejecting Khan's idea, said it is clearly an interference in Afghanistan's internal affairs. Meanwhile, Amrullah Saleh, the former head of Afghanistan's intelligence agency, in a tweet said that the Pakistani leaders' demand for abrogation of Afghanistan's constitution and the demolition of the democratic system is something which has been fabricated by Pakistan's spy agency, Inter-Services Intelligence. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani had earlier reacted to reports on a plan to establish an interim government in the country and said the plan has been outlined outside the country and it is not applicable in Afghanistan. Kabul has long blamed Pakistan for harboring key Taliban leaders on its soil and providing them with sanctuaries to stage war against Afghan forces and their foreign counterparts. However, Pakistan rejects the allegations and has claimed that it is extending support to the Afghan peace process.
More news from Afghanistan. A cycling race was organized recently in Afghan capital Kabul to promote peace and harmony in the country. At least 100 cyclists, including both girls and boys, participated in the event.
At least 100 cyclists, including both girls and boys, participated in a cycling race in Afghan capital Kabul to promote peace and harmony in the country. The cyclists started the race by releasing doves and balloons in the air. Their destination was Omid-e-Sabz township in the west of Kabul.
همیشه باید مثل مسابقات برگزار شدن، همه اشتراک کنند، دختر خانوما بیشتر اشتراک کنند، علاقمند ورزش شوند و
فاصله ما از دمزنگ تا قصر دارالمان بود و همین مشکلات بایسکل ما زیاد بود که از طرف فدراسیون به ما ورده شده بود. مشکلات زیاد داشت. یکی از کسای خودم بودم که افتیدم به خاطر مشکلات زیاد بایسکل.
This comes as peace has turned into a much debated topic among Afghans. People have expressed hopes that this is the time for the people to move forward towards a peaceful Afghanistan in the near future.
A man who was born in Pakistan but has been living in India for the last 52 years would finally get an Indian citizenship after fighting a 3-year-long legal battle in the country. 54-year-old Asif Karadia's mother was in Pakistan at the time of his birth and could not return to India for around 2 years due to heightened tensions between the two countries in 1965.
54-year-old Asif Karadia, who was born in Pakistan but has been living in India for the last 52 years, would finally get an Indian citizenship after fighting a 3-year-long legal battle in the country. Karadia, who works as a manager at a restaurant in India's western Mumbai city, would be given Indian citizenship after the federal government recently told the Bombay High Court it has decided to grant him citizenship. His mother, Zebunisa, was in Pakistan at the time of his birth and could not return to India for around 2 years due to heightened tensions between the two countries in 1965.
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आज तक।
तो आपको प्रॉब्लम कब आया जब आप हज यात्रा?
जब हज के लिए हमने अप्लाई किया पासपोर्ट के लिए, जब भी मुझे बोला कि आप पाकिस्तानी हैं, आपका पासपोर्ट नहीं बनेगा, आपको अप्लाई लेना पड़ेगा सिटीजनशिप के लिए।
Asif's passport application was denied by the authorities as his birthplace was marked as Karachi in his certificates. A representative of India's Interior Ministry has said he will be given the certificate of Indian citizenship within 10 days.
A 4-day-long theatre festival began on Tuesday in India's Srinagar city to revive the culture of theatre in the Kashmir Valley and create awareness among the youngsters about its age-old cultural and traditional values. Many Kashmiri plays would be performed during the festival based on the heritage of Kashmir.
With an objective of reviving and preserving the culture of theatre in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province, a 4-day-long theatre festival began on Tuesday at the famous Tagore Hall in Srinagar city. Several theatre groups hailing from across the valley are taking part in the festival to present their plays in Kashmiri language. The festival is aimed at creating awareness among the youngsters about the cultural and traditional values of Kashmir through theatre.
ये मैं यहाँ पर ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगा कि इस वक्त जो NZCC और कल्चरल अकेडमी ने ये कदम उठाया है कि इन्होंने ये फेस्टिवल ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया है, ये थिएटर लवर्स के लिए एक खुशी की बात है और जो हमारी पीढ़ी इसमें आना चाहती है उनके लिए एक अच्छा कदम है। ये सब एक्टिविटीज़ यहाँ होनी चाहिए, रेगुलरली होनी चाहिए ताकि हमारा जो थिएटर का जो माजी रहा है वो इंशाल्लाह और फले फूले।
जी इसकी जो एक फ्लेवर है, एक खुशबू है थिएटर की, वो अलग है और इसको ज़िंदा रखना एक चैलेंज है। ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए भी चैलेंज है, ये थिएटर से जो मोहब्बत करते हैं, जो थिएटर वर्कर हैं या आर्टिस्ट हैं या डायरेक्टर हैं, उनके लिए भी चैलेंज है। हमने आवाम को अपने साथ जोड़ना है, ये हम काफ़ी देर से कहते आए हैं लेकिन अभी तक हम पूरी तरह से कामयाब नहीं हुए हैं। हमने आवाम को इस थिएटर मूवमेंट, इस मिशन के साथ जोड़ना है।
Kashmir has a rich history of theatre and art, the roots of which are rooted in 3,000 years before the birth of Christ. The period of 1966 to 1977 is considered as the golden period in the history of Kashmiri folk and modern theatre.
People in India's northern Kanpur city on Tuesday daubed each other with colours to celebrate Ganga Mela, a festival celebrated days after Hindu festival of colours, Holi. The festival also marks the release of Indian revolutionaries during the colonial rule in 1941.
People in Kanpur city of India's northern Uttar Pradesh province on Tuesday daubed each other with colours to mark the celebrations of Ganga Mela, a festival which is interspersed with nationalistic fervour. Children were seen dancing to the beats of famous Bollywood numbers and painting each other with vibrant hues. The tradition of Ganga Mela was started in 1941 during colonial rule in India to mark the release of revolutionaries by the British government after the Hindu festival of colours, Holi.
हम लोगों को अंग्रेजों ने होली खेलने के लिए मना कर दिया था, पाबंदी लगा दी थी, तो फिर यहाँ पर बाकायदा गंगा मेला तब से आयोजन हुआ। हम लोगों ने बगावत में बोला कि नहीं हम लोग होली खेलेंगे और हम लोगों ने गंगा मेला का तब से आयोजन हो रहा है।
Meanwhile, in central India's Indore city, scores of devotees took to the streets to celebrate the Hindu festival of Rang Panchami earlier this week. A procession was also taken out on the occasion in which devotees soaked themselves in religious fervour, making merry and dancing to the religious tunes. The festival marks the waning phase of the moon according to the Hindu lunar calendar and is celebrated in many parts of the country with much fanfare.
Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.